Hey guys, Alex Super Serious Goose Games. Welcome back to our Unity mobile idle game tutorial series. In the last video, we added generators to our game as an alternate method of money generation. Today, we're starting our data persistence by creating a data container. Data persistence can be a little intimidating, and there's many ways to handle it. We're going to be using JSON to save our data. Now, using JSON means we're going to get a plain text string to represent our save, which is super easy to break open and modify. So it's important that if you are planning on using a multiplayer system with leaderboards or events, then you need to encrypt your save data. I'll be showing you guys that as we move forward. To start out though, we're going to create a new script called game data. So right click in your scripts folder, go to create, monobehavior script. We're just going to call it game data. Go ahead and open that up. So this script is just going to be a container for all of the information we want to keep track of between sessions. So we don't need Unity Engine, but we do need to use break infinity because of the numbers we're trying to store. So we'll have break infinity. And then we also want to use system. So using system, and then we're not going to inherit from monobehavior, which means we can get rid of start and update. We do want to mark this as serializable though. And inside here, we want to think about what are all of the things that we want to keep track of. The first thing we obviously want to keep track of is how much money we have. So we're going to do a public big double called money. Then we want to keep track of when we're saving, and we're going to use this to calculate offline progression later. So we need a public date time, save time. And then to keep things organized, we're going to use something called a region. So I'm going to do number sign, or hashtag, depending on your age, region. I'm going to say counts. So everything in here is going to be a count of something. So in our case, we have a couple of things we keep track of for counts. We have our click upgrade, our idle upgrade, and our generator upgrade. So let's grab our click upgrade. So it's going to be a public big double, upgrade count, click upgrade count, and then we want one for our idle upgrade count, and then for our generator. So public big double generator count. Now, if you have multiple generators, you would have a separate big double for each generator, or you could use an array and store them in that way. I only have one generator for now. Later on, we're going to expand that and add more generators when we flesh out the design, which I've already got planned out. So you'll see how that's going to work once we get there. And then that's all we need for that region. So we're just going to end region. Next, we're going to have another region called stats. And in here, we're only going to store 4 things. You might want to put more depending on what you're saving. And once we get the design nailed down, we're going to flesh this out more. But just to give you an idea of how this works, we're tracking time played. We're tracking our money from clicks. So public, big double, money from clicks. We don't need to track total money earned because that is just a combination of money from clicks and money from idle. And then we're tracking how many clicks we have. So public, big double, clicks. And then end region. So the reason these regions are useful is they don't actually affect anything in the inspector or the code itself, but they do allow us to just collapse these. So when we're storing a ton of data, we can organize them in these regions and it'll be a lot easier to read through. And we love that. So this isn't a whole lot right now, but as we expand the game, we're going to add more here. The next thing we want to do is go back to Unity. We're going to add another new script, and this one's going to be called data persist. So create monobehavior script, data persist. Go ahead and open that up. And inside here, we need quite a few things. So we're using Unity Engine. We also want to use system. So using system, we also want to use break infinity, and we also want to use system.collections. Now this script, we're going to use, I think it's singleton is the name for it, but we're going to create an instance of this class that we're going to be able to reference from anywhere because it'll be static. So we're going to do a public static data persist called instance, and that'll allow us to call it from like our click manager so that if we want to save or update or do anything, we can just call the instance. The next thing we're going to do is a public currency manager called currency manager. Then we're going to grab a public base upgrade called click upgrade. After that, we're going to do a public upgrade called click upgrade. And then we'll do another one for our idle upgrade. And then we want to grab a reference to our generator. So public generator. The reason we're grabbing all those references is because we're storing the data associated with them, and this script is going to handle storing that data. Next, we're going to create a public game data called save data. And this is going to be equal to new. And then we're going to create a public const float called save interval. And we're going to save every 10 seconds, just as like an autosave. You can set that to whatever you want. 10 seconds, I think, is okay, because you really don't need to save every single frame. Next, we're going to create the awake function. So private void awake. If there is no instance, so if instance equals null, then we're going to set instance to equal this object. Otherwise, we're going to destroy the object because we only ever want one instance in the scene. Okay, so now we're going to get rid of the update method, and we're going to create a new method called public void retrieve save data. And inside here is where we're going to get all of the information for our save game. So we're going to grab a game data reference. So game data data is equal to save data. Then we're just going to do data.money is equal to currency manager.money. Data.clickUpgradeCount is equal to clickUpgrade.count. IdleUpgradeCount is equal to IdleUpgrade.count. Then we have our generator count. And the others we're going to get from our stat tracker, which, just like this script, the stat tracker is using the instance. So we can say data.timeplayed is equal to stat tracker.instance.timeplayed. Then our money from clicks, so data.money from clicks, and then data.money from idle, and then data.clicks. So that's it for that function. Now we are going to create an IE numerator. So public IE numerator. We're going to call it autosave. And inside here, we're going to do while true. We're going to yield, return new, wait for seconds, save interval. So this is going to fire off every 10 seconds because that's what our save interval is set to. And then we're going to retrieve save data. So every 10 seconds, we're going to retrieve that data. And then in order for this to start running, we have to call it from start, coroutine, autosave. So we're going to be expanding on this script in particular very heavily over the next couple of videos because we need to add a function to create the save data file itself and then load from that file. And on top of that, we're also going to be encrypting it all. So we've got a lot to do here. Go ahead and save it for now, though, and head back to Unity. So we've got our game manager here. I'm going to tack on data persist onto it. And then we need to assign these references. So we can just drag the game manager into like the currency manager, and we can grab the other objects. So like the upgrade panel, we've got our click upgrade, idle upgrade, and then our generator. And our save data, if we expand it out, we can actually see all of the values we're trying to store. And right now it doesn't say anything, but I'm going to do play focus so that we can actually see it. Save the scene. And then as the game starts, we should start seeing these fields fill with information. So right now we have no money. If I expand out money, I can see that there is 0 and 0. If I start clicking, eventually when the autosave triggers, yeah, we can see I now have 26. And I'll set to 3.1 with an exponent of 1 in a moment. Yep, there it goes. So now that we're tracking all of our data, we need to store it. So in the next video, we're going to implement the save functionality for our game. It's going to be a little long, slightly complicated, so be prepared. That's all for today, though. So if you like this video, hit like and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. In the comments, let me know how you feel about limiting offline production. So many idle games do this, and I kind of hate it. Some aren't so bad and limit you to several hours, but then you have so many games that limit you to like 2 hours. I don't know about you, but I'm not checking my phone every 2 hours just to collect the progress on an idle game. As always, thanks for watching. I'm Alex with Serious Goose Games, and I'll see you in the next one.